Totals $58.60. Would you like a 20-cent plastic shopping bag? My knees buckled where I stood. I stared down at the stack of feminine hygiene products, facial cleansers, and cotton underwear spread across the conveyor belt, every detail identical to the day I died. The phantom ache of a baseball bat caving my skull, gravel tearing open my cheeks, the rabid chant of "For Mother Earth" ringing in my ears still lingered sharp in my bones. I'd been beaten to death in an unmonitored back alley, hunted down by a mob of radical eco-activists all because I'd bought a cheap disposable bag for my groceries. This was my second chance. I wasn't going to repeat the mistakes that got me killed last life. "Ma'am, the bag," the cashier repeated, nervous at my frozen, shell-shocked stare. I sucked in a deep, steady breath, my jaw set hard. "Yes, give me the largest size you've got." The cashier blinked in surprise, then ripped a thick industrial plastic sack free from the roll and started packing my items. She barely slid the full bag toward the edge of the counter when a calloused hand shot out from my left, clamping tight around the plastic handle and yanking with brutal force. A shrill tearing split the air. The bag split clean down the middle, all my personal toiletries spilling across the linoleum. Packs of sanitary napkins skittered under the feet of waiting shoppers, bottles of facial wash clattered, and leaked small puddles of cleanser across the floor. I lifted my gaze slowly. Standing inches away, wearing scratchy hand-woven linen, a crudely carved wooden earth globe pendant strung around his neck, was Lin Zijian, the man who'd filmed my confrontation, edited the footage to frame me as a violent villain, and rallied the eco-mob that ended my life. His eyes blazed with unhinged, self-righteous fervor, a camera with a wooden protective case raised straight to my face. "Everyone look!" He screamed loud enough for the entire checkout queue to swivel and stare, his voice shrill and performative for the lens. This woman paid money for single-use plastic. Do you know how long plastic takes to break down? 500 years. Hundreds of sea turtles, seabirds, and marine life will choke to death over this one selfish purchase. You're a killer of the planet, an earth cancer, plain and simple. A murmur rippled through the line of waiting customers. The cashier flinched back behind the register, stammering in panic. "Sir, you can't just destroy a customer's belongings like that. She paid for everything." Lin Zijian whipped his head toward her, jabbing a finger inches from her nose, rage twisting his features. "You're an accomplice. This supermarket selling plastic bags bleeds the planet dry. I speak for nature, for Mother Earth, and I'm punishing you for aiding this destruction." The cashier clammed her mouth shut instantly, shoulders hunched in fear. Last life, I'd panicked here. I'd lunged for his phone to block the footage, and that single split-second reaction became the only clip he'd posted online, cutting every second of his unprovoked attack to paint me as an aggressive woman attacking a harmless environmental volunteer. That clip sparked months of relentless cyberbullying, then the physical ambush that killed me. This time, I didn't move a muscle toward his camera. I knelt down slow, picking up each spilled product one by one, stacking them neatly back on the counter without a single outburst. When I stood upright again, my tone was cold, flat, unshaken by his live recording. "You destroyed my legally purchased private property. Apologize and compensate me for the bag and damaged goods." Lin Zijian barked aloud, mocking laugh directly into his phone's microphone, gesturing wildly at me for his unseen online audience. Listen to this woman prioritizing petty cash over the survival of humanity. The planet's dying, and all she cares about is a worthless plastic sack. I destroyed a tool of environmental crime. This is righteous intervention, not damage. You don't deserve to consume any natural resources at all. You should stop breathing right now and give your oxygen back to the ecosystem. I pulled my phone out of my pocket, tapping open the payment receipt from the self-check kiosk, holding the screen up so everyone nearby could read the printed plastic bag fee listed clearly on the slip. This supermarket operates fully within national commercial regulations. I purchased this bag legally, per listed pricing. Your deliberate destruction of my purchased items constitutes criminal property damage. I'm asking you one more time. Apologize and pay restitution. Lin Zijian rolled his eyes hard, dismissing every word I said with fanatical arrogance. Human laws mean nothing next to nature's laws. My environmental beliefs supersede trivial commercial rules. No judge, no cop, no government can label me a criminal for defending the earth. He stepped closer, shoving the camera lens so near my face it nearly brushed my nose, scanning my makeup, my factory-made cotton shirt with unbridled disgust. "Look at this chemical cosmetics, mass-produced polluting clothing. Every breath you take poisons the atmosphere. Your very existence is a blight on this world." A middle-aged woman at the front of the queue slammed her shopping cart handle against the floor, irritation boiling over. "Hey, you two holding up the whole line? Either finish paying or get out of the way. I've got dinner to cook." Last life, this small complaint ignited the crowd against me entirely. Lin Zijian spun to weaponize their impatience, twisted the narrative to make me the nuisance holding everyone hostage, and every bystander turned their anger on me. I knew exactly what he was about to do next. Lin Zijian bowed deeply to the entire queue, voice thick with manufactured sorrow, putting on a flawless show for every onlooker. "Fellow neighbors, I beg you to hear me out. I only tried to gently remind this lady of our planet's fragile future, to spare our children a ruined world. Instead of listening, she threw a fit over a single plastic bag and wasted all of your precious time." He swept a hand toward me, feigning heartbreak. "I apologize on her behalf for this selfish delay. Please don't take your frustration out on the environment because of her ignorance." The cashier tried to cut in, desperate to set the record straight. That's not what happened at all. He ran over and ripped her bag apart first. Lin Zijian snapped his head toward her, eyes flashing with venomous threat. "Don't you dare cover for her crimes. I'll film your biased behavior and post it to every environmental forum online, organizing a full boycott to shut this supermarket down for aiding plastic pollution." The cashier clamped her lips tight, too scared to speak another word. The crowd's frustration, already simmering from the long wait, bubbled over straight onto me. Grumbles and sharp criticisms echoed from every direction. Kids these days have zero common decency, only care about their own convenience. The guy's just trying to save the planet, and she throws a fit over a 20-cent bag. Quit hogging the register and get out of everyone's way. You're embarrassing yourself. Lin Zijian twisted his head back toward me, a vicious, triumphant smirk hidden just out of sight of the surrounding shoppers. He mouthed silent words only I could read. You can't beat me, Earth Cancer. Rage burned hot in my chest, but I refused to snap like I had in my past life. I gripped my shopping receipt tight, raising my voice loud enough for the entire queue to hear, cutting through their scattered complaints. I followed every store rule and paid for my goods legally. This man ran at me unprovoked, destroyed my personal property, and now he's wasting all your time with his performance to avoid accountability for his own illegal actions. Today he tears up a plastic bag he doesn't approve of. Tomorrow he could break your household appliances, smash your cars, all under the fake banner of saving the earth. You're all letting a self-appointed vigilante bully a stranger for no reason. I held the printed receipt high for the man wearing glasses standing closest to the counter to examine. He leaned forward, scanning the line item for the plastic bag fee, and nodded slowly. She's telling the truth. The guy definitely attacked her belongings first. A fraction of the crowd's hostility faded, the cashier exhaling a quiet breath of relief and reaching for a new plastic bag to repack my items. Before she could slide it across the counter, Lin Zijian let out a cold, sneering laugh and pulled a folded sheet of paper from his linen jacket pocket, holding it high above his head for everyone to see. Legality means nothing when your carbon footprint destroys the ecosystem. Look at this official carbon emissions violation notice our Environmental Association issued specifically for her. He shook the paper dramatically, printed green leaf graphics plastered across the top, my full name typed across the header alongside a string of meaningless, made-up carbon data figures. I've tracked her daily habits for weeks. Constant takeout delivery, rideshare trips, disposable single-use water cups every single day. Her carbon output far exceeds sustainable planetary limits. I'm conducting official environmental enforcement here today. I'm seizing all her polluting merchandise and subjecting her to mandatory ideological re-education for her crimes against the earth. The crowd's doubt vanished in an instant, their anger refocused entirely on me once more. Murmurs of condemnation exploded around me again. Turns out she's a repeat offender. No wonder she acted so defensive. Good on him for calling her out. People like this deserve to be reprimanded for wasting resources. Get her out of the checkout line. She's just a burden to everyone here. A stocky, tattooed man in a tight tank top shoved roughly through the crowd, reeking of stale sweat, fists clenched tight at his sides. He loomed over me, chest puffed out with aggressive fury. I've been waiting in this line for 40 minutes, all because of your stupid little argument. If you don't march out of the store right now, I'll knock you flat on your ass. I stood my ground without flinching, spine rigid. This is my checkout lane. I paid for my groceries, my property was destroyed, and this conflict won't end until police arrive to sort this out. Hit me if you want, but every blow lands on camera and assault charges will follow. The tattooed man's temper snapped instantly. He raised his palm and delivered a brutal open-handed slap straight across my cheek. The force sent me stumbling backward into the counter, metallic tang of blood flooding my mouth instantly, a high-pitched ringing overtaking my ears. Two uniformed supermarket security guards stood 10 feet away, watching the entire incident unfold, exchanging a nervous glance before choosing to do absolutely nothing to intervene. Lin Zijian stood to the side, filming the assault on his phone with cold, detached satisfaction, muttering quiet mantras about natural justice under his breath. Mother Earth balances every harm done to her. This punishment is the consequence of your wasteful lifestyle. Several onlookers even cheered quietly at the sight of me falling to the linoleum floor. I curled inward to shield my torso, one hand pressed tight against the hidden body camera clipped to my shirt, ensuring every second of the attack was fully recorded as the tattooed man kicked my stomach hard, over and over, venting all his waiting frustration onto my defenseless body. The sharp wail of police sirens cut through the supermarket chaos before he could land another blow. The tattooed man froze mid-kick, immediately stepping back and smoothing his shirt to erase any trace of his rage. Everyone freeze. What's going on here? And who beat this woman? The lead officer's voice boomed across the silent supermarket checkout area, gaze sweeping over my split lip, purple swollen cheek, and the shoe prints stamped across my shirt and stomach. The tattooed man rushed forward, hands raised in fake surrender, putting on a panicked, wronged civilian act. Officer, none of this was my fault. She refused to leave the checkout line after starting a huge disturbance, blocking all of us from shopping. I just gave her a small push to move her along. She lost her balance and fell flat on her own. Push doesn't leave bruises like this. The officer frowned, gesturing at my visible injuries. The middle-aged woman who'd complained about waiting stepped forward to corroborate his lie without hesitation. I saw the whole thing. This young lady started arguing with the environmental volunteer first, yelling and causing a scene. This man only stepped in to calm her down, and she's just trying to make him pay by faking injuries. The surrounding shoppers nodded in agreement, all eager to distance themselves from trouble with law enforcement. Lin Zijian slipped his phone into his pocket, his previously manic expression softening into a gentle, wounded frown as he approached the officers, putting on the perfect face of a harmless, misunderstood activist. I'm just a regular environmental volunteer trying to spread awareness about plastic waste. I politely explained the damage of single-use bags to her, and she flew into a rage, reaching for my phone to attack me. This gentleman intervened to protect me from assault. That's all. He sighed dramatically, shaking his head. I hold no hard feelings toward her. Educating ignorant people takes patience. The supermarket manager sprinted over, shirt soaked through with nervous sweat, and inserted himself between the officers and me, quick to smooth over the incident before it hurt store profits. It's all just a silly misunderstanding between shoppers, officer, and no need for formal reports or arrests. We can sort this out internally. He twisted to face me, his tone sharp and accusatory, placing all blame squarely on my shoulders. Girl, why create such a massive scene over a plastic bag? Apologize to these gentlemen, drop the whole thing, and we'll sweep this minor scuffle under the rug so business can get back to normal. The suffocating, hopeless despair of my previous life crashed over me again, every single person in the room siding with my attackers, writing off my pain as an overreaction, pressuring me to take the blame for their crimes. I bit down hard on my lip until blood welled, pushing myself unsteadily to my feet, legs shaking but my spine held rigid and unyielding. I pointed a finger straight at the crumpled fake carbon ticket peeking out of Lin Zijian's jacket pocket, turning to address the two police officers. I'm filing official criminal reports against this man first. He committed property damage, public harassment, and forged what he claims is an official government emissions penalty slip. This falls under counterfeiting official documents, which is a criminal offense. The officer raised an eyebrow, confused. Counterfeited official paperwork? Let me see that slip you're referencing. Lin Zijian's face paled instantly, panic flickering across his fanatical mask for the first time, but he recovered fast, letting out a scoff to brush off my accusation. That's ridiculous slander. This is legitimate paperwork issued by our registered Environmental Volunteer Association, not a government document. Let the officers examine the stamp on the bottom right corner, then. I challenged him flatly. The manager rushed to my side, tugging my arm hard and shooting frantic, desperate eye signals for me to back down. Don't escalate this any further, kid. What good will dragging everyone into legal trouble do you? I ignored his desperate attempts to silence me. The officer stepped forward, snatched the paper out of Lin Zijian's grip, and held it up to read the embossed stamp printed at the bottom edge aloud for everyone present to hear. Exclusive stamp of the group administrator of the Cosmic Love Environmental WeChat group. Dead silence swallowed the entire checkout zone. Every shopper who'd spent the last 10 minutes condemning me stared at the fake ticket in stunned disbelief. I let out a bitter, cold laugh, gesturing at the meaningless homemade stamp for the crowd to fully absorb the fraud. See for yourselves, this isn't a legitimate official regulatory notice from any National Environmental Bureau. It's a self-printed slip stamped with a homemade rubber seal for a random private WeChat chat group. He's impersonating law enforcement to harass random shoppers, destroy private property, and stir up public chaos. This is fraud and criminal public disturbance. The manager's mouth hung open, completely lost for words. Lin Zijian's complexion shifted between bright red and sickly pale, and he raised his voice to yell over the murmurs of the crowd, clinging to his environmental rhetoric to justify his illegal acts. Official channels fail our planet. Ordinary citizens have every right to take independent action to protect the ecosystem. My motives are pure, so trivial legal technicalities don't matter. The woman who testified against me earlier crossed her arms, still refusing to concede she'd been manipulated, and muttered a petty, judgmental remark. Even if the paper's fake, his heart's in the right place. Why can't you endure a little minor inconvenience for the sake of the earth? Being this unforgiving will make it hard for you to find a partner someday. A little inconvenience? I turned to stare directly at her, eyes sharp. If protecting the planet means accepting physical harm and property damage without pushback, then why don't you swallow the plastic bag full of groceries you're clutching in your hands right now to show your dedication? She glanced down at her own overflowing plastic shopping bag, face flushing bright red with embarrassment and anger. I paid for mine fairly. I don't have to destroy it. Exactly my point. I shot back without hesitation. Your own plastic bag is fine because you bought it, but mine deserves to be ripped to shreds? You happily sacrifice other people's safety and property to perform moral grandstanding, yet never hold yourself to the same standards. The woman had no retort left, shrinking back into the crowd to avoid everyone's stares. The lead officer turned to Lin Zijian, tone stern and authoritative. Your personal intentions don't negate the law. Forging documents meant to look like official regulatory notices and intentionally destroying another person's purchase goods are both illegal violations. Lin Zijian continued ranting about planetary salvation, refusing to acknowledge any wrongdoing. I pulled my phone out to pull up the full audio recording I'd captured, then unclipped the tiny hidden body camera from my shirt, holding both devices out to the officers. Every single event from the moment he ripped my bag, all the threats he made, and the full assault by this tattooed man was recorded on video and audio. I'm pressing full criminal charges for intentional property damage, public disorder, and aggravated bodily harm. I will not accept any out-of-court mediation or settlement offers whatsoever. The tattooed man's tough guy demeanor shattered the second he heard the words, aggravated bodily harm. He stumbled forward, hands rubbing together nervously, plastering a desperate pleading smile across his bruised face. Young lady, I acted out of impulse. I got caught up in the crowd's frustration. I've got a wife and kids relying on my paycheck. If I get locked up, my whole family suffers. Let me cover all your medical bills. Let's settle this privately, yeah? Listen to an older man's advice, kid. The manager lowered his voice, stepping between me and the pleading tattooed man, his tone shifting between soft bribery and subtle threat. A young woman dragging this out through court will only create more trouble for yourself, even if you win charges. These two men could retaliate against you once released. I'll make this right for you right now. Every item you bought today is completely complimentary, plus a $500 store gift card to use anytime you want. Delete all the video footage on your phone and camera. Tell the officers this was just a harmless misunderstanding, and we can walk away from this with zero further consequences for anyone. He stretched his hand out toward my body camera, attempting to snatch the device away to erase the evidence himself. I stepped backward fast, dodging his reach, and held on my phone screen to show the fully sent file confirmation pop up front and center for him to see. Sorry, but your bribe isn't enough to make me abandon my legal rights. Before police even walked through the supermarket doors, I sent a complete backup of every video and audio clip to my best friend, who specializes in digital security work. I set an automatic timed release trigger on the files. If I leave this building with unresolved injuries, or if I sign any written agreement to drop charges against these two men, the full unedited footage will post simultaneously to every major social media platform nationwide. I already wrote the headline: Radical Eco-Vigilante Destroys Shopper's Property, Violent Bystander Assaults Woman, Supermarket Manager Attempts to Cover Up All Evidence. The manager's face drained of all color, his pointing fingers trembling with panic. You're playing dirty tactics against my business. This will ruin our store's reputation completely. That outcome's entirely your own fault for choosing to cover up assault instead of protecting a paying customer. I replied flatly. The tattooed man dropped to his knees instantly, scrambling forward to grab at the hem of my jeans, tears spilling down his cheeks in genuine terror. I'm begging you, miss, don't let that video go viral. I can't afford a criminal record. I'll lose my job and my home if this circulates online. Lin Zijin's performative martyr mask crumbled away entirely, leaving only unfiltered rage and hatred etched across his face as he shouted accusations at me. You're a cruel, manipulative woman weaponizing technology to ruin my mission to save the planet. Mother Earth will curse you for this malicious scheming. I lifted my chin, gaze cold and unyielding as I gestured toward the uniformed officers. I don't want any private deals or apologies. Officers, take us all back to the station to complete formal statements and process arrests. The manager paced back and forth, muttering frantic, panicked complaints under his breath, before spinning to scream at Lin Zijin. This whole mess is your fault. You waltzed into my supermarket stirring up chaos and violence, and now my store's reputation hangs in the balance. If sales tank over this incident, I'll hold you fully responsible for every dollar of lost revenue. Lin Zijin ignored him, continuing to hurl wild environmental curses at me, screaming about planetary collapse and divine retribution for my selfishness. The tattooed man's desperate fear morphed into reckless rage, and he surged back to his feet, raising a fist to strike me again right in front of the police. You witch, I'll beat you within an inch of your life before you ruin everything I've got. One of the officers reacted instantly, grabbing his arm and twisting it behind his back in a standard police takedown, slamming handcuffs shut with a sharp metallic click. Stay restrained. Attempting a second assault in front of law enforcement adds another felony charge on top of your existing assault count. The surrounding shoppers watched the tattooed man get cuffed, and all the blind anger they directed at me moments earlier shifted violently onto Lin Zijin instead. They realized they'd been duped by his fake Environmental Enforcement Act, tricked into harassing an innocent woman over a trivial plastic bag dispute. A burly middle-aged man from the queue pushed through the crowd and threw a solid punch straight into Lin Zijin's jaw. You lied to all of us and stirred up violence for your fake eco-crusade. Other shoppers swarmed forward, landing punches and kicks against Lin Zijin's hunched form as he curled onto the floor, his wooden earth globe pendant snapping clean in half under the crowd's feet. He wailed uselessly about being a planetary guardian the whole time, but no one cared to listen to his fanatical rhetoric anymore. The police officers stepped in to pull the angry crowd apart, hauling the bloodied, whimpering Lin Zijin and the handcuffed, tattooed man out to the patrol cars parked outside the supermarket. I rode to the station alongside them to submit my full recorded evidence and give a complete written statement, then headed straight to a nearby hospital for official injury documentation and medical scans. My best friend arrived at the hospital ward minutes after I finished my medical exam, tears streaming down her cheeks at the sight of my bruised, swollen face and split lip. Those monsters didn't hold back at all, did they? I uploaded the full uncut footage to every platform exactly like we planned, and I pushed paid promotion to shoot it straight to the #1 national trending topic. I unlocked my phone and pulled up the social media trending page. Our video sat firmly at the top spot, hundreds of thousands of furious comments flooding the thread. Every viewer condemned Lin Zijin's fraudulent eco-harassment, the tattooed man's unprovoked assault, and the supermarket manager's corrupt attempt to bribe and silence me. Thousands of users pledged to boycott the supermarket entirely for failing to protect customers from violence. My parents pushed open the ward door mid-scroll, clutching a thermal food container, both of their eyes red and swollen from crying. My mom rushed to my bedside, squeezing my uninjured hand tight as fresh tears fell. My poor baby girl, we got the hospital emergency alert and drove over as fast as we possibly could. My father's jaw tightened with unbridled anger, already pulling out his phone to contact a top civil and criminal defense attorney. We're hiring the best legal counsel available to make sure both attackers face the maximum possible punishment for hurting you, and plea bargains, no reduced sentences. I squeezed both of their hands back, a quiet, genuine sense of relief settling deep in my chest. In my first life, I'd faced all this hatred and violence completely alone, abandoned by every stranger and authority figure around me. This time, I held solid evidence, supportive family, loyal friends, and public opinion firmly on my side. I'd survived the loop, and I was going to win every legal battle ahead. 2 full months passed between the supermarket incident and the scheduled court hearing. On the morning of the trial, I dressed in crisp, professional business attire and took my seat at the plaintiff's table, watching as court bailiffs escorted Lin Zijin and the tattooed man into the defendant's dock. Lin Zijin's wild, fiery fanaticism had completely faded away. His head was shaved short per prison intake rules. He wore a plain orange inmate jumpsuit, and his shoulders slumped forward with defeat, no trace of the self-proclaimed Earth Savior left in his demeanor. The tattooed man shrank into his chair, refusing to lift his head to make eye contact with anyone in the courtroom. The defense attorney representing Lin Zijin opened his arguments by attempting to frame his client's crimes as the product of an obsessive environmental mental fixation, begging the judge to issue a lighter sentence in exchange for mandatory psychiatric counseling instead of lengthy jail time. Meanwhile, the tattooed man's wife, children, and elderly parents filled the spectator gallery, sobbing loudly and staring at me with desperate, pleading expressions, silently begging me to drop the charges and spare their family's breadwinner from incarceration. The judge struck his wooden gavel hard against the bench to quiet the noisy courtroom, calling for full silence during the presentation of evidence. My own defense attorney stood and laid out every piece of proof before the court, starting with the complete unedited body camera footage, audio recordings, the fake homemade carbon violation ticket, and my official hospital injury assessment documenting soft tissue damage and a minor facial contusion classified as level 2 bodily harm. Your Honor, my attorney spoke clearly and firmly for the court record. Defendant Lin Zijian engaged in premeditated public harassment, intentional destruction of private property, and forgery of documents designed to impersonate official regulatory notices. He manipulated uninvolved bystanders to turn against the victim and incited physical violence against her. The second defendant committed a brutal, unprovoked assault that left the plaintiff with lasting facial bruising and bodily injury, all over a manufactured dispute created by Lin Zijian's fraudulent vigilante act. These defendants hid behind the shield of environmental advocacy to break every law on public record, and their actions set a dangerous precedent, allowing moral grandstanding to override legal protections for ordinary citizens. The prosecution requests full maximum sentencing for both parties to uphold the rule of law. Mid-argument, Lin Zijian suddenly broke down completely, dropping to his knees on the courtroom floor and slapping his own cheeks hard enough to leave bright red marks, loud echoing smacks bouncing off the courtroom walls. I'm guilty. I've committed terrible wrongs. I renounce all my radical environmental activism forever. Please give me a second chance to rebuild my life. The tattooed man followed suit, slamming his forehead repeatedly against the table edge, begging the judge for mercy and claiming he'd been manipulated and goaded into violence by Lin Zijian's crowd incitement. The judge's expression remained stern and unwavering as he delivered the final ruling after reviewing all submitted evidence and witness testimony. The law does not make exceptions for individuals who hide behind self-righteous moral causes to commit criminal acts. No personal belief, environmental or otherwise, justifies property damage, public harassment, forgery, or physical assault against innocent civilians. He announced the sentences one by one clearly for the court to hear. Defendant Lin Zijian, convicted of criminal mischief, forgery of unofficial documents intended to impersonate government notices, and incitement of public disorder. Multiple offenses combined carry a sentence of 3 years state incarceration. Defendant Wang Tao, the tattooed man convicted of aggravated assault resulting in minor bodily harm, sentenced to 18 months incarceration. A wave of quiet murmurs rippled through the gallery as the judge closed the case, and the bailiffs led the 2 convicted men back out of the courtroom to transport them to correctional facilities. I walked out of the courthouse into bright, warm sunlight, breathing in deep, unburdened air free of the fear and trauma that had haunted me since my first life's murder. When I returned to my office the following workday, my company CEO summoned me to his private conference room, sliding a thick new project proposal across the polished desk toward me. Your handling of this incident didn't just secure justice for yourself, he explained with a sincere, approving smile. The unedited footage you released online sparked a nationwide public conversation about distinguishing rational, science-backed environmentalism from dangerous extremist vigilante behavior. Local environmental bureaus reached out to our business to launch a public educational campaign promoting balanced, legal, sustainable living practices. The company's board unanimously voted to place you in full leadership of our brand new public welfare environmental project team. This role is yours, effective immediately. I picked up the proposal, a surge of quiet pride and purpose filling my chest. Thank you for trusting me with this responsibility. I'll make sure every campaign we launch prioritizes factual, respectful environmental education without the toxic moral grandstanding I endured. Over the next several months, our public environmental outreach project exploded in popularity. Local municipal environmental departments partnered with our company for community workshops, media interviews, and school educational programs teaching sustainable shopping, waste reduction, and legal avenues for environmental advocacy. No fake vigilante enforcement, no harassment of ordinary shoppers, only practical, compassionate education. The campaign earned official government recognition and awards, drastically lifting our brand's public reputation and customer trust. The CEO delivered a sizable performance bonus to my bank account and formally promoted me to department director, with expanded budget and team leadership authority to grow our sustainable outreach initiatives nationwide. I sat at my new director's desk one evening, scrolling through positive public feedback on our environmental programs, and reflected on the brutal, terrifying fate I'd escaped in my first life. This second chance hadn't just let me survive. It let me turn my trauma into meaningful, positive change for thousands of people, proving that real environmental protection never requires hurting or bullying other human beings. My life was finally fully my own, built on justice, integrity, and purpose.